Every once in a while, a movie comes along that makes me feel like we're not asking enough of directors. And I know that's not really fair because they have an incredibly difficult job. But when somebody does it this well, you kind of get spoiled. So, No Other Choice is the latest film from legendary South Korean filmmaker Park Chan-wook. After being unemployed for several years, a man devises a unique plan to secure a new job: eliminate his competition. And if you can't tell from that brief description, this is a social satire wrapped in a crime thriller, and a bloody social satire directed by a ridiculously talented South Korean filmmaker is sure to bring up comparisons to Parasite, and I do think that's actually warranted in some ways. Just like Parasite, this thing is very heavy on the symbolism. There is layer after layer of metaphor wrapped around this thing. There are visual motifs, there are verbal motifs in the dialogue. There's so much going on that you're not going to catch it all on a first watch. But instead of alienating me, that just made me lean in even more and get more excited about returning to the well over and over on this one and uncovering new layers every time. Although the story eventually gets very extreme in nature, its roots are in a very mundane situation, and that is unemployment, something that a lot of people can relate to. This character is not up against a life and death situation. It's not about putting food on the table for his family. He's worked in a certain industry at a paper mill for 25 years, and it's afforded him a lifestyle that he loves. When we first meet him, he's at a very idyllic home. He's grilling expensive meat outside. Everything's beautiful. There's golden retrievers. His family is happy. It's almost like the Garden of Eden. And when the ownership at his paper mill shifts hands, he's caught up in layoffs, and suddenly his lifestyle is put in question. He's not facing down a physical threat. He's facing a decrease in comfort. And so in that way, the title becomes very ironic because there's lots of other choices. He can definitely find work, but he's so determined to stay in this industry that has valued him for 25 years, or so he thought, and retain this lifestyle that he's fallen in love with. It's the lengths that he's willing to go to hold on to this lifestyle that aren't really justifiable. But even as the plot devolves into very gruesome and extreme territory, it never lost me. It's so relentlessly engaging. It just grabs a hold of you and doesn't let go for the entire runtime. It's such a gorgeous presentation of a thematically rich story. If you're just there to be a casual viewer, I think you're going to find a really cool thriller. But the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. The more I dug into this movie, and the more I have dug into it in the days since I've watched it, the more I found waiting beneath the surface, embedded in really cool filmmaking techniques. And the movie is extremely non-conventional in its storytelling. One thing that I love is that Park Chan-wook never acts like a scene is just connective tissue from one big moment to another. Every single scene feels consequential and critical to the story. It feels like each scene is the culmination of everything that came before and the starting point for everything that comes after. This is a story that unfolds in a very unpredictable way, and it doesn't feel like he just found the ending and reverse engineered his way until he had the whole story in front of him. At any given moment, it feels like a character might zig instead of zag and drastically change the conclusion. And there is just a darkness in this movie, as most films that try to indict capitalism end up indicting human nature as well. But at the same time, Park has always had a great sense of humor. And there were a lot of scenes where the stuff that was happening was insanely dark and violent, but my entire theater was in stitches. He has a way of melding these tones together in a way that feels abrasive but very intentional. Lee Byung-hun as the protagonist is absolutely fantastic, and Sun Ye-jin as his wife, and I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing those names. They're both great. And something that I loved about this film is that it doesn't spend a lot of time with her in the dark about what's happened. He doesn't try to hide the fact that he doesn't have a job for very long at all, which seems like a small thing, but I really think that 99% of screenwriters would have made a lot of that and tried to farm some tension out of that situation. But I love that Park didn't, and I think it goes to show that he's more focused on the characters than telling this story in the way that is most conventionally exciting. And he really is the star of the show for me. There is just nobody out there doing it like him. There are very few people who have ever walked the planet who are as good at directing as this guy is. Every time he shows up, he plays the symphony perfectly. He takes all of these very talented people and aligns them in a very distinct direction with surgical precision. And his technical collaborators here are on absolute fire. The cinematography is gorgeous and maddeningly engaging throughout. The edit is so creative and distinctive. There are so many crossfades and superimpositions of one shot over another. It's just so exciting at every turn. The sound design is so good, picking up on discrete little sounds and making them almost deafening to communicate certain things about the characters and where they are emotionally. And the score is so gorgeous. I cannot wait until this is available for me to listen to again and again. You're just not gonna find better filmmaking than this out there in 2025. It's so compelling. There are a few issues here and there. Sometimes I feel like the way that characters convey information to one another and to the audience can be a little bit clunky. Like the way that a husband and wife talk to one another in this movie isn't always the way that I think married couples communicate. It sounds like they're telling each other stuff that they should already know, but there is a language barrier, and maybe reading something in English registers different to me than speaking the words in Korean does to the characters. It could be a little bit of that coming into play. Also, like I said in the summary, this guy supposedly has been unemployed for years when he makes his decision to go after his competition. You don't really feel that. This movie doesn't convey the passage of time very effectively without just telling you that time has gone by, which is a minor concern, but I do think that that might have added a bit to the desperation if I felt like years had gone by. And then there's certain moments where I feel like the wife character, who has been established as an extremely competent and engaged individual who is very intent, along with her husband, on getting the family back to a good place financially. She feels like she's kind of not asking the right questions or enough questions. Her husband is away working on some project that's not yielding any benefit to the family, and he's out late at night, and she doesn't really seem to be asking a ton of questions. And at times I did wonder, why isn't she probing a little bit here? These are problems that I had on a first watch that barely bothered me at all, but like I said, there's so much that I have yet to pick up from this movie that these could get smoothed over in the future. At the end of the day, I loved No Other Choice. I think this is an absolutely fantastic film where the social commentary and the metaphors never feel like they're driving. They're made apparent, but the characters always feel like they're in the driver's seat, which makes it all the more compelling when the metaphors do emerge from the narrative. The filmmaking is so vibrant, the performances are wonderful, and the screenplay is razor sharp. And for all of those reasons, No Other Choice gets an A. You have to go see this movie. If you haven't watched a subtitled film and you've been waiting to finally watch the right one that's going to get you engaged, this is that one. If you watched Parasite and you've been waiting for a movie to give you that feeling again, here it is. If you're a film lover, you're probably already going to watch this, but this is just more encouragement to do so. I had such a great time with this movie. I cannot wait to go back and see it again as soon as it's available in theaters, which I think is not happening until early 2026. Keep an eye out. This is a great one. If you have seen the movie, please let me know what you thought of it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the movies.